And welcome inside the Backstage Pass, the TGIF version. That means it's Friday, weekends around the corner. And for some of us, it's already started here as tomorrow approaching it, coming up at midnight officially Saturday. Looking forward to another great weekend here on the Backstage Pass. And of course, a number of great shows coming up next week here on the show, powered by the sportsguys podcast.com and presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, Honky Tonk Texas. You can also check us out, internet radio, hightidecountry.net. Fabulous internet station out of Oklahoma. Well, I told you guys I had a good one today, and we finally got in touch with the guys. Great to sound out there. The new album is fantastic across all the digital platforms. Came out at the end of June. From Here to Home. I'd like to take that trek one day and understand the Americana sound that they have. It's Lonnie and Chris, the South Austin Moonlighters. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Hey there.
Fantastic, man. It's so great to finally be doing this with you, man. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, you got it, man. We're looking forward to talking about this. Well, I guess Lonnie, we'll start right there. Take me back. 2011 when you guys got together, kind of some local musicians and found some great talent out there. Texas is never shy when it comes to great musicians like that. Just like Nashville, there's talent on every corner that you go to there in Austin, Texas, or you like to think so too. Talk about just playing together, and then for kind of that sheer of making music, and then turning this thing into kind of the big thing it is now.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been doing this Chris and I have been doing this for a very, very long time. And, there's always ups, there's downs, there's success, and then that just kind of disappears and all the things, and when you decide to do something just for the joy of it, it ends up being the thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened with the South Austin.
Kind of it,
South Austin Moonlighters. It was started off as a happy hour in South Austin, Texas, hence the name. And we were all moonlighting from our other gigs, and it just took off. And there was a chemistry that really started to show form, and songwriting became the focus, and Chris is a fantastic songwriter and made the rest of us, step up our game. And now we have our fifth record, From Here to Home, and produced by Steve Berlin of Los Lobos. And we couldn't be more proud, man. It just seems to be, I think artists say this all the time. You're always most proud of the thing that the newest thing that you've put out. And this really is a fantastic record. And I mean, we're already, true to the business, we're already talking about the next one.
Sure.
That's kind of the way it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's build on that a little bit too, Chris, with the songwriting, and of course how important that is in the game itself, and creating, like I said, something, and making it something. It came from nothing, building it up, and you guys working together kind of as a team, and holding each other up, inspiring each other, the chemistry in the band, how important that is.
Yeah. It's one thing to be a solo artist and to write songs and kind of go out there and do your own thing, but to actually have a band where you've got kind of equal parts sharing in the creativity, it's a different thing. It's unique, and it's something that you don't hear a lot of, believe it or not, these days. I mean, even bands that have like a band name, a lot of times they're like this lead guy up front, and he just kind of tells everybody what to do or whatever. So the Moonlighters is kind of unique in that respect. We, as songwriters, we'll come to the table with ideas and forms and so you have kind of a narrative that you're working within, or kind of a framework. But for the most part, it's pretty wide open. And when you get a group of guys together that really lean into songs, they can hear a song and kind of go, okay, I'm gonna apply what I do to that. They're not changing themselves to be the song. They're really more about kind of taking, what they, internalizing the song, taking what they can give, and then, coming back out. And that's what I think is unique about, what we're doing anyway, the idea behind a band and the South Austin Moonlighters in general.
Well, I love this album. I get a chance to break down all the tracks off of it too, from Here to Home, which just came out there at the end of June. Your sound is very unique to compared to other bands or other artists that kind of are in that Americana category, Lonnie. Especially
Yeah.
when you lead off with a song like Nashville, that really sets the tone for the record. Talk about that, and really the selection of songs, because sometimes people have a lot and some don't make the cut on the record. This time, you guys had, I think, the perfect 10 to make a great album.
Thank you. Yeah, that was all Steve Berlin. I mean, we you know, our last record was produced by Anders Osborne, and we kind of had decided that we were going to release the reins, if you will, and allow a producer to actually take control and make the final decisions. And we did the same thing with Steve on this record, and that's all him. I mean, we gave him, like, I'm probably like 35 tunes to choose from.
And some weren't even finished. I mean, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And so the you know, Nashville's a song that Chris had brought to the table in March of, or early, like January of 20. And we went into the studio to cut a demo of it to present to Steve in March of 20. And then we all know exactly what happened at the middle of March. But so, you know, we were starting to, you know, prepare songs for Steve to go into the studio in. And then we, you know, if there could be a silver lining to a really tragic time during the pandemic, you know, we wrote songs. There was nothing really to do, you know. And so we had plenty of material to, and I mean, clearly everyone else in the world did too, because everyone is releasing a record at the same time. And so, I mean, if this record may have done better had we held on and waited to release it. Who knows? But, you know, we couldn't hold it in any longer. I mean, it needed to come out.
Creatively, I mean, there's only so long you can sit on something, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
you want to kind of keep moving. You know, artists want to keep moving.
Well, you know, true to its name. I mean, it's a record. It's a record of what happened at that time, at that moment. And, you know, to try to, you know, encapsulate it and release it at another time, it would be, maybe it would not have been as well received. Who knows? You know, but in the end, you know, thank you for mentioning that. You know, and Nashville is a fantastic song. It's the perfect way to start the album. I mean, that's
what Steve was thinking.
You know, it's a song about, you know, tragedy and coming up from the rubble, and you know, during the pandemic, there was that awful tornado that went through Nashville and decimated a whole, you know, area of town, and that is mentioned in this song. You know, and Chris wrote it, so he could tell you a little bit better about it.
It's really cool, and I love the fact that you can talk about it, because I used to work for an Americana station, had so much talent in just in and out of just Austin, and the station was in New Braunfels, KGNB and KNBT Radio. Love that one up there, and my friend Mattson has done a great job with that station there too. Used to DJ on it, and so much like a great talent like yourself, and it's songs like I mentioned Nashville though, but off that record too, Chris, From Here to Home, which is the latest album out there, long time coming. Let's talk a little backstory of this one.
Yeah, well, this is pretty cool, because we're each getting to talk about each other's songs. Yeah, long time coming. You know, we had that in the pipeline early on, probably 2019-ish, I would guess. Lonnie, is that about right?
I think so.
We had started playing it out, so we had already kind of come up with an arrangement that we really liked, and you know, kind of fleshed out those guitar parts and that sort of idea of what this song would be. Lonnie was still experimenting with lyrics, so he, you know, it would change from time to time.
Every time we performed it.
And then Steve got a hold of it, and, you know, Steve's really good about, you know, not cutting anybody any slack. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Steve loves music.
Mhm.
He's a genuine music lover, and he doesn't want to hear anything that doesn't convey that. If it's not speaking well, or if it doesn't sit well with him or whatever, he's going to let you know. Let's just like he lets me know, he lets Lonnie know. So if there's anything that needs to change in a song to help it convey meaning, Steve will jump right in. And so he loved the idea of Long Time Coming, but there was the narrative was kind of going on a bit, and so I think he and Lonnie sat down and worked through some of those things. What's that line again? And well, how about trade that with this one, and maybe we start like this. And so anyway, with the end of the day, we ended up with something we're really, really proud of. It's to me, Long Time Coming is just the story of how you started out, what your dream originally was, and you find yourself years and years and years later. Essentially, you might think that you hadn't made any progress at all. It doesn't look like you've done anything. You've just spun your wheels your entire life. But the truth is that, that you have. I mean, you've done a whole lot of living. It's a different type of life than, what maybe most people would experience. And I think Lonnie did a great job at conveying that throughout the song. It's kind of this gypsy lifestyle throughout time, what it looks like as a kid, what it looks like in the middle when, you're kind of wondering what to do next. And then now here we are as, the veteran rockers, out there kind of still doing this same thing and what it looks like now.
Well, I'll tell you what, I want to catch you guys on the road. I heard the live shows just can be really upbeat and definitely one of those things that attracts the crowds when it comes in there, singing the music back to you. Electric is the word I want to use right there too. So we'll go back and talk about that, a little bit about the stage presence, and of course more from here to home. And you can check the guys out at the SouthAustinMoonlighters.com for tour dates and, of course, merchandise and things out there, too. Lonnie, it's Chris, Brandon. It is the Backstage Pass powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com and, of course, hightidecountry.net. Quick timeout. Friends over at Bangtail Whiskey. Check them out at bangtail.com. EasyLiquor.com if you love the drink. We're coming back more with the South Austin Moonlighters. Hang tight. Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
And back here on the show, the Backstage Pass at hightidecountry.net and powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Some big shows coming up next week here on the Backstage Pass. And one of the legends is going to join us here to talk about his greatest hits album that comes out September 8th. That's right, Josh Turner right here on the Backstage Pass coming up next week here, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com and at hightidecountry.net, presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, Honky Tonk Texas out there in Silsbee, a little crown jewel in Silsbee down there. Who knows? The Moonlighters could come down here and play one day. You never know who's going to rock.
Why not?
That town.
Of course. I was going to do my Josh Turner impersonation.
Go for it, Chris. I want to hear it.
I don't know. I don't know. Remember the words of the song, but I sure love his voice.
Hey,
but if you had some Bangtail, you'd remember.
You would, yeah.
I'd be singing karaoke is what I'd be doing. That does sound really, not the karaoke, but the whiskey part of it, the description, like he's so good at describing that whiskey. Like, man, I think I want
it's definitely when the weekend's on top, Chris, which is this weekend coming up here, goes well with any cocktail. And seriously, once you try it, it's so damn good. And I always endorse the finest of the finest when it comes to the products here on the show here too. Again, the record is From Here to Home, and of course you can check the guys out at the SouthAustinMoonlighters.com for tour dates, maybe coming to a city near you too. And definitely check them out for the merch. Give them a like on social media out there, too, while you're at it. I thought one of the cool ones off the record, too, and there were so many ones that I got to check out From Here to Home. It's Only Money. It makes the world. And so I'm looking back and I'm like, yeah, it's true, but it definitely makes the world go around looking back at it. Where did this start, Lonnie? This is a cool title for a song.
That's another one by Chris.
Mhm.
You know, he came to this. That was another one that we had early on that we had been kind of toying around with and changing. And we also demoed that in March of 20. You know, it was immediately as soon as he played it for us. I mean, our parts kind of fell right into place. We knew exactly what it needed to sound like, what the imagery that needed to be conveyed, and it's tongue in cheek, clearly, it's like that money can't buy me love, kind of thing. But maybe it can. Do we really know the answer?
To me, that's what makes a great song is the story can hold in contention these two ideas, and one is suggested, and the other one is actually being talked about, But
well, the beauty of songwriting in songs, period, is that we may know where we're coming from when we're writing it, or what we were thinking, or what we were feeling, or even what we were trying to convey. But the audience, there's a fourth wall, that the audience kind of breaks and creates and makes the song their own. And man, we love hearing the stories of what other people think our songs are about. And usually we go like, hey,
most of the time that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Remember that one thing?
Like, yeah. So, it's only money that makes the world go round. It's clearly there's more to that, to life,
I want to, and I can't wait to get out to a live show to hear more of the harmonies, because it's one thing hearing it on a record, and then you get to go out to a show and kind of hear what's. I give credit to some of the best vocalists out there. It's not necessarily, and I always say yes, it's the lead vocalist who can deliver a song, but just as important as the lead vocalist too, Lonnie, is the background singers. You guys have such great harmonies, and Chris, you may agree with this too. I think that really brings out and just livens up a record as good as the background singers are on a song. And you take any country song over the last 30 years, I don't care if it's Carrie Underwood to Dolly Parton to whoever it may be, they always have great harmonies from those background singers. And you guys really bring it alive on this record.
Yeah, it's lovely to have the ability to do that live. And we just did a Colorado run where we did a lot of it acoustically and with begrudgingly, because we're a rock band, man. We get up and we play, but we did it with acoustics and a cajon. And man, people just love it when we do shows like that, because it really does focus on the harmonies. Chris is an amazing singer. Our drummer, Daniel Janes, has a beautiful tenor voice that he takes all the high harmonies now. Or since he joined the band, he's been taking all the high harmonies, and it's just we've figured out this way to do these harmonies live and in the studio. I mean, in the studio, those harmonies on the records that you're hearing, especially in that last song you mentioned, we were around one mic and we did it, all the three of us together. That's hard. I mean, that's in the studio. Usually they like to isolate the vocals so they can have more control of the vocals and make sure that everybody's in tune, yada, yada. And we did them around one mic of the three of us, and we stacked them, of course, but that's hard to do. You have to really know each other as far as harmony is concerned.
Start and stop points, and volume levels, little inflection thing. There's all sorts of little details like that. But yeah, we wanted, and Steve wanted to make sure that we did this record in such a way that it represents the band very, very well. And I feel like we accomplished that. And like you were saying, the part of it, that's a huge part of our band. It's not just the studio. A lot of guys will have background vocals and stuff like that in the studio. And then, when they go out, the guys in the band can't necessarily sing like that or whatever. And I get it, but we're fortunate enough, like Lonnie said, to have some guys around us that, man, they love to sing, and we do it every show. That's part of the sound of the Moonlighters.
Yeah, we often get, compared to the Eagles or Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Yeah.
And, I mean, those are, big shoes to be even,
I think we're more like the Beagles.
The Beagles.
hadn't heard that one. That's I like how you put that one. Just put that up
Right.
there.
But because we howl like Snoopy.
Mhm.
But
Doing up the dad jokes. Hang on.
but you know, it's wonderful that people would even make those comparisons. Clearly we're doing something, you know, that is resonating with them. And man, yes, you should come to a live show and see us do that live.
Well, I know that the Texas thing is here. Sometime I'll get up there to Austin, sometime in and around. You guys are playing some really cool dives and bars and places. And I know that there's only up from here, as I always say, those amphitheaters not too long down the road, because you guys do have just a well-rounded kind of show-stopping, organic, very fresh sound that I love so much with those harmonies. And these songs just are well-crafted. And what I like about them is really a lot of heartfelt tunes come out because you guys are pouring out your emotions in a lot of these particular songs. And I'm going to go back to the record that you mentioned. Y'all both touched on it. Travel Light, which Anders Osborne produced this record, feels like home. Let's start there. I'm gonna break down a few tracks on this one, but interested to get the story on that one.
Well, that one was written by our friend Phil Hurley, who's no longer in the band. When the pandemic hit, he kind of had said, "This is probably, if there was ever a jump off point, this is it." And we gave him our, you know, blessing, and he wanted to kind of do his own thing. He and his wife, he was about to get married when the pandemic hit, and so he wanted to kind of focus on that, and he wants to play music with his wife and he started doing more of council city council stuff for the city of Bastrop. In the music area, in that
music
little
community stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, trying to get that happening there where he is.
So he left the band, and we seamlessly somehow got very lucky and had Hunter St. Marie join our band, and he has just been. We're still waiting for the shoe to drop. It was too easy when he came into the band. But From Here to Home was an old song of Phil.
What is it? It's called what was it called again, Brandon?
What's it?
The one from Travel Light, the one we're talking about. Feels like
home.
That's
home.
Right.
Yeah.
Feels sorry. Feels Like Home was an old song of his that he had. And the story of that I understand was, you know, he had major heartbreak and was living in Amsterdam at the time, and he came home with his tail between his legs, so to speak. Landed in Los Angeles and started, you know, getting people around him that made him, you know, uplift him, you know,
started over, essentially, completely started over.
And that's what that song's about.
I loved that one too. Again, there's a lot of great tunes on that one too. We'll come back and talk about a couple of more off of the Travel Light record, and of course get a lot of what the guys have coming up over the next few months. The rest of 2023, they mentioned working on the next project when this one just came out at the end of June. So celebrating this project while waiting on some of the next tunes to come out. It's Lonnie, it's Chris. It is the Backstage Pass. The South Austin Moonlighters.com is where you need to go. Get tickets for those live shows. The guys are staying busy out there. And the current album, of course, across all the digital platforms, From Here to Home, is the one that came out here at the end of June 2023. Quick word from our friends at Bangtail Whiskey. Guys, check them out. They're about to invade the Texas market here. Live Oak, Total Wine and Specs in Nashville. Go in there. If they don't have it, demand it. Get it on the end caps out there, too. Good friend Brandon Bing, great job out there. He's also a Nashville recording artist. So, again, good stuff, goes well with any cocktails. EasyLiquor.com and Bangtail.com to find if it's coming to a city near you. Also, Honky Tonk Texas, honkytonktexas.us. Silsbee's littlest crown jewel down here in Silsbee, Texas. More with the South Austin Moonlighters. Hang tight, coming back here on the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com and at HighTideCountry.net. Stay tuned. Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base, The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
And some big shows coming up next week, I should say, presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, Honky Tonk Texas. Lewis Bryce going to join us next week. We'll talk about his new album. Of course, another great Nashville recording artist, Michael Warren, going to stop by too. Dan Smalley, and, of course, our good friend Josh Turner here on the program. September 8th, the Greatest Hits album comes out from Josh Turner, and it also celebrated the 20th anniversary recently in May of Long Black Train. So looking forward to talking about that, and also a new vinyl record that's out there now too from Josh. So big shows coming up next week. Jenny Tolman over the next few weeks, and of course, new album came out today. Heath Wright of Ricochet coming by over the next 2 weeks here on the Backstage Pass. We're chock full. Back here with the South Austin Moonlighters here, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk Texas and HighTideCountry.net. And, of course, the SportsGuys podcast.com. I'm going to go back, Chris, to Travel Light a little bit because there was one on there, several we talked about, Feels Like Home. Carry Me On. That was the 7th song on that particular record. Let's break that one down.
Well, do you remember a guy named Drew Womack?
I sure do. Yep.
Yeah, good friend of ours, and I caught up with him a couple times for coffee and just kind of hanging out, and we exchanged some song ideas as songwriters do, and so we thought, well, maybe we ought to just put together a time we get together and let's write something. I said okay, so I went over and had a couple of ideas. We worked on I think we worked on about 3 songs that day, but this one is the one that kind of stuck, and Carry Me On. So I had the chorus, I think, ready, and so I showed him the chorus. I'm most of the time I'm better at choruses when it comes to ideas, so I had this chorus. So Drew is the one that we kind of sat down, and I pulled out all these lines from me and where I was coming from. The idea was that Austin's a big town now. It's it's not a sleepy little college town anymore. This is a metropolitan area with all the things that go along with it. And everything changes. I don't mean to sound like the guy shouting "Get off my lawn," but I accept change, and I understand that this is a town that I share with a lot of other people. But there's this thing in me that, and I think Lonnie can speak to this as well, because he grew up, back and forth from the deep south of Texas and Houston, and so back and forth with that. So you got this rural kind of area where we kind of grew up, juxtaposition to the large or big city like Houston or Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And there are just so many things that I miss about the small town. One being, ride your mini bike down the street. It's a simple thing, but it's a mindset more than it is anything. And so that idea of, I wish I had a tractor and some land to put it on, that's what I'm talking about. I miss the old way. I miss, I'm from Abilene. And back then, Abilene was still pretty small, and I kind of miss it. There's some stuff I miss about that.
Yeah, I was born and raised in a big city, and but I think we all can. Even I have aspirations of wouldn't it be great if we just had a big house out in a field somewhere, and we tended to the land, and we had it was quiet, and we could just be just be. And I think it's that idea,
For sure.
I mean, I love the city. I've always, I always want to reside right in the middle of the city.
You do. Yeah, you definitely are
but
comfortable in the city.
However, there is always that fantasy of, man, wouldn't it be just great if we just had a quiet piece of land with a house on it? And
man, and that I had a friend that, it's a mutual friend of Lonnie's and mine. It's Phil's father-in-law, as a matter of fact, Phil Hurley, father and mother-in-law. They had this land outside of Austin, and there was this killer tractor, like a 1940s Ford, and I saw it. It looks like an old hot rod, and it's sitting out in the field, and I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I would go out there and just sit on this tractor. And Landon was kind of little, my son, back then, and I would, I'd put him up there, and we'd play around on this tractor just because I just liked it so much, So that kind of sparked that whole idea anyway of that tune.
I'm gonna back up even a little further because
Yeah.
there's so much I really dive into music too and love where the songwriting comes from, and I really enjoy hearing the whole song. Everything. I mean, it's just knock yourself out of the park too as well of how this whole song develops itself with the writers and the collaboration. Because now we're starting to see more collaboration in the industry. I'm just watching the 50th anniversary CMA Fest, big stage, Nissan playing, and I saw that. And, you look at Vince Gill, Luke Combs, past generation, current generation, and you look at Miranda Lambert, Avril Lavigne. I think this is big now, Lonnie, because collaboration in the industry now is probably it's one of its highest peaks it's ever been at.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's wise, especially for the legacy acts, to when invited by someone younger who is now the shiny new thing in the industry,
It's important.
it's important to be recognized, and those people are doing just as much a favor to the legacy acts as the legacy act is doing to the new people.
Yeah, and to some degree, I think it's our responsibility. From that perspective, if it's a young versus old thing, the veteran versus a newbie thing, it is. It's kind of our. We want to pass it on. We want to pay it forward as much as we can and help these new artists. Say what they intend to say and be able to get it across. Maybe avoid a few pitfalls along the way. But basically, just the overall good that it can do in the songwriting part. I mean, Lonnie and I have a really good friend that's a co-writer on a lot of this stuff named Amy Hooper, and you probably haven't heard that name, but a lot of great songwriters are that way. And she has a knack for doing one of two things. A lot of times she can be the creative and driving force behind a song, which is cool, but she also has a knack for helping you narrate. So she definitely can like take ideas, like Lonnie and I will come up with these ideas and it'll be all over the map. Here's this idea, here's the concept, and the concept is really, really good. And maybe there's a line or two that's really working. And then she's able to kind of extrapolate more of what this story is and help it with form. So she's kind of a driving force in our mess of songwriting that I have sheets of paper everywhere and ideas everywhere. She can really kind of pull that in. That's just an example of why that really works, because if you have somebody around you that has strengths that you don't have and vice versa, you could really make a strong creative force with collaboration.
A really good example of that very thing is the song Delta Man on our new album From Here to Home.
That's right.
I had that idea at the time. I was driving back and forth from Austin to New Orleans, Louisiana, where I have a home, and was making that trek back and forth quite often. And there's an area when you get to Louisiana, there's a beautiful area called the Atchafalaya Basin.
Brandon will know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And it's the most beautiful. I think it's honestly the most beautiful area of the United States, in my opinion. And when I'd always take off at the same time, so that I was always coming back into Louisiana right when the sun was about to set, or beginning to set. So the sun on the the bayou and the marshlands was it's just so gorgeous. And I was starting to create this story in my mind, a prose, if you will, of snow-capped mountains and the snow melting and it trickling down into streams, and the streams turning into rivers, and the rivers becoming cloudy and dirty and sticks and mud and whatnot and whatever. And by the time it reaches the Gulf of Mexico, it is clean again. It gets it dissipates, and it goes out into the ocean and becomes clean again. And I thought, what a beautiful a description of life, a metaphor for life is this water starting pure and clean and then getting dirty and then getting clean again. And I wrote probably in more detail than I just said right now, but basically the same thing. And I wrote it all down and I handed it to Amy, and Amy turned back in what she thought was maybe a first draft. And I said, this is perfect. And I wrote the melody and the music immediately. And that's what you're hearing on that song Delta Man, is those first draft lyrics.
Collaboration.
Yeah, well said.
She took my words and made them even more poetic than I was already trying to do.
That defines the term collaboration. You'll need a Webster's dictionary. That just did right there here on the Backstage Pass. I could go into you guys all music all day long. Y'all know I can talk. It's just part of what I do here on the show.
Please do.
I love it so much because I go back to one that was Ghost of a Small Town, and I got a chance to listen to a couple of tracks here that I dive into. And one of the first ones that to me, stream, and just jam out to in the car was Moving On. I thought that was just
that's cool.
Well done. Tune. Great tune. Tell us about that one.
That's another Phil Hurley song.
Yeah.
He was driving somewhere. I don't remember where. Maybe Chris can remember.
It's way out west. The way he told it to me, it was
West Texas.
It's coming back from California or something.
Yeah,
way out west.
And he was, just reaching Texas and thinking, man, I still have a long way to go. And it's a beautiful. I mean, that song, the way we play it, the vibe, the lyrics, you really do see, the plains and the rolling hills and windmills. You see images of old windmills and tumbleweed, whatever you want to call it, and it's a cool tune. It really is. It's one of the most streamed songs from that record. Yeah.
To me, I always, just like you said, Lonnie, the feeling you get when you're listening to it. Some songs are kind of diametrically opposed in sound versus lyric content, and I like that too. But in this one, it's really a real concise snapshot picture of kind of the loneliness of West Texas. And so Phil was on this drive by himself, and there were some things that he was leaving behind in life, and moving on to a new chapter. And you get this idea of, like you said, Lonnie, with Delta Man, same kind of idea where the sun's setting behind you, like you've left something behind, and you're headed toward whatever this new thing is. And to you, that's home. You're home in New Orleans. And it was the same thing I think that Phil was kind of speaking toward in Moving On, which is the loneliness and contemplative nature of the long highways out in West Texas, and that sun setting behind you on a life that you're not going back to, and that's moving on.
I love it. And Will said too, and that's the beautiful part of music, and like you talked about the collaboration in it too, and to see that tune come alive, which I felt that song really did on Ghost of a Small Town. And then the other one on there, of course, a lot of them struck me too. And like I said, we could be here all day talking about this great music. Lying on the Bottom. Yeah. Mississippi River, because again, living down here in Texas where I'm at, you guys know, big part of the water resources down here, does so much for different states here. So synonymous when people cross over the Mississippi River. And this made me feel like I'm back home and I'm right where I belong in Texas and here in the South.
Yeah, that was the idea of our original drummer, Phil Bass, and a friend of his in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's a true story about the I-35 bridge collapsing and going into the Mississippi River in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this guy that he knew was going to go ask his now wife, then his girlfriend, to marry him, but then he got stuck on that bridge and fell into the water and didn't know if he was going to live, and the thought process was was, is she gonna know that I was trying to ask her to marry me? Is
Right.
she gonna know? I mean, am I gonna die and she's gonna think that I never had any intentions of sharing my life with her? And that's what that song's about.
Yeah,
I
I talk
there-
about the
yeah.
personification of an idea. Like, did you say all that you could have said with your life?
Indeed.
Did you love the people, well around you? I
Mhm.
guess those are the questions that you run into when you're faced with your mortality. It's like,
Mhm.
did I miss something? You know what I mean? And that's
Mhm.
that's a big part of that song.
Well, you went here, so I'm going to go here toward the bottom of this record because, did you say it all? Did you do enough? And there I am lying on the bottom of Mississippi River, and my life was out there,
Right.
and so don't ever take a day for granted because every each day we wake up is a blessing from God, no doubt. And I think as you go further down, I'm like, preach on, but y'all do this with Jesus, make up my dying bed. I mean, holy crap! I mean, it's like so deep. It's like a cut through just a knife of what I mean. It's just so deep the music is delivering, and especially that song, Lonnie, is deep.
Well, I wish I could say that I wrote it. That there it's a very, very, very old spiritual. And it is said that a reverend originally wrote it, but it was most famous when Blind Lemon Jefferson recorded it. And I think Dylan did a cover of that, and the song, there's a Led Zeppelin song where they cover it too. But it's
Yes,
called
pieces of it.
In My Time of Dying.
Yeah.
So I had heard Pop Staples' version of it, and I really loved it. But I wanted to do it more my way, at that swampy kind of New Orleanian feel to it, and showed it to the guys, and I showed it to them live on stage one evening where I just said, "Follow me," and
Yeah,
everyone did.
here's the riff or
Yeah.
the idea. Yeah.
It was immediately, the crowd was in on it, the band was in on it, and man, we just went, and it sounded so cool and so good. We said, we got to put this on a record, and so we did.
Yeah.
And it came out to be one of the best out there. Chris, do you have something to add to it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, I was just, because you were talking, Lonnie, kind of going back to that time, and it's it's something synonymous throughout the existence of the South Austin Moonlighters, is this idea of dynamic.
Mm.
There's a lot to be said for, how intentional you are with your volume and your approach to things, and that's what blows everybody away about that song. Is the first time Lonnie did it on stage, we're listening. We always like to say we have big ears. We're listening to the guys around us, and so we're playing, we're laying it down, and the song gets kind of big and intense, and then Lonnie kind of signals, that whatever way that we figured out, we subconsciously kind of know what each other's doing, but he just broke it down completely. And like, we just all kind of stopped playing on stage. It just went way down in volume. And I think at some point, it may have been the first time, but it was soon thereafter, but you stepped away from the mic and just yelled it into the room.
Yeah.
Like, just proclaiming it without a microphone.
Mhm.
And it was the coolest moment, because that's intentionally using the intensity of volume, and vice versa. How quiet can you be? Because you can just draw an audience attention completely into what you're doing as you get quieter and quieter and quieter. And I just remember that moment, kind of the hair standing up on my neck when we launched back into the chorus, and it's like, boom,
Yeah.
we knew that one had to go on the record. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's just kind of a testament to the guys in the band. That's something that we love to do and know how to do, and that's dynamically, set these things up so they have really good impact for all of us.
Well, and the tone is so important in setting the dynamics, like you said, drawing crowd in, that soft kind of noise and the buildup you get from it. And the thing that reminded me that song, hair stand up on the back of your neck and like go, man, that's a hell of a roller coaster ride. And the one that I just thought of was the one I mentioned too. Off the record, he's got the greatest hits thing coming out. The Josh Turner Long Black Train song.
Totally.
At the beginning, that train starts to wind
up.
Killer. Like when I first heard it 20 years ago, back in May to the date, I'm going, holy crap, like this is the train noise. And then, okay, where's the song going to go? And but see, songs like that, you're never going to forget because it's like a scar. It's going to leave a good lasting impression on you because we all get scars, good or bad. It's going to leave that there and it's going to be just ingrained in your mind. And that's what music does. And that's why I love, because you guys are great storytellers in your music. And this album, guys, I'm telling you right now, from all the listeners at hightidecountry.net to the sports guys podcast.com to anywhere out there, we're played out there. From Here to Home is about as authentic as it gets for 10 songs out there. And it came out June 30th. We're going to come back, take a final time out. We're going to ask the guys about the next project they already mentioned they're working on. And you can check out the tour dates, merch for more information. The South Austin Moonlighters. .com here on the Backstage Pass. Final segment with Lonnie and Chris coming up here. Stay tuned. More to come. Right now, a word from Bangtail Whiskey.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. Of course, next week, some great shows here on the Backstage Pass Monday. We get a chance to talk to a guy who used to pitch in Major League Baseball with the Cincinnati Reds. He won a ring with the Boston Red Sox. Bronson Arroyo, the former big league pitcher, coming on here. Former professional athlete turned musician. That's the cool thing about this show. You just never know what's going to occur here. Of course, Dan Smalley's been around Nashville for a while. Michael Warren, Lewis Bryce, and of course, the big one next week, Josh Turner, coming here on the Backstage Pass to talk about his new record, Greatest Hits album, coming out September the 8th. Final segment here with the South Austin Moonlighters. The new record, From Here to Home, is out there across all the digital platforms. Been just really cool having the guys on, breaking down all the really significant tunes today and all the emotions you really feel in the songs there too. And check them out, the SouthAustinMoonlighters.com. So in the free time, Chris, I'm going to start here. Downtime for music, like away from it. What are some of your other hobbies you get into?
This is fun. I'm a creative person, and I've learned to understand that as I've gotten older. And so if I can keep in my creative process in some way without jumping into music, that really kind of keeps me going. It keeps me kind of refueled. So when I'm not playing music, I'm generally in the garage. So I work on motorcycles and cars. So I've got my dad was a professional motorcycle racer. If you know anything about me, you probably know that story. But back in his day, it was all about the British bikes. So BSAs, Triumphs mainly, and Nortons. For any of y'all who know any of that stuff. But anyway, I got bit by the bug early on, and when I reconnected with my dad, when I moved back from Nashville, he and I, like I said, reconnected, and we had this idea that we would start collecting British motorcycles. So that's what we did. Unfortunately, we couldn't collect really nice ones. All we could collect was the old and broken ones. And so what that taught me was how to work on them. And so I learned over the years, how to fix them up and where to get parts and all that sort of thing. So that's kind of my creative outlet when I'm not playing music or producing or something like that. I'll be in the garage or out front working on. We've got a 1970 Mustang that my dad gave my son. It needs a lot of work, and so that's what we do. We work on stuff. We build engines and that sort of thing. So
I love that, and get the hands dirty. And like I said, they're just jack of all trades. There, do something you love. Lonnie, for you, free time away from music, is there golf or any sports, or what hobbies do you partake in?
Mm,
I'm
I'm
over
a
here
bit,
like,
I'm a bit of a wino.
Is
Uh, and my wife and I, probably the thing that we spend the most money on, the most expensive extravagance that we spend money on is wine. We
Mm-hmm.
have a bottle of wine.
uh-oh, we
Did it
lost.
freeze? You see froze
I
there.
could,
There
I
he
could
goes.
actually continue that idea. We
there-
lost Lonnie for a moment. Did you?
We get him back there.
I don't know.
Lonnie, can you still
But
hear
yeah,
us?
they
Freeze
drink
up.
a
Go ahead.
bottle of wine a night, pretty much, and so they've gotten
Wow.
really, really
Pretty
good
much.
at finding, like the best wine. Okay, I think you're back. Go ahead, Lonnie.
Well, it's expensive, but
Right.
Mhm.
you have to be able to be creative, and also there are wines out there that are really reasonably priced, that are delicious, and you just have to know where to look and how to find them. But it also matters how you store them, and if you
Mhm.
don't store them correctly, then you'll get shit wine, for a lack of a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's pretty much where, I mean, anytime we've had vacations, we
Mhm.
always try to center them around wine country.
Let's say we all love that bed and breakfast, or you said wine country, wine tasting too. I'll tell you one of my favorite spots to go to, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about when I do this.
All right.
Is wine tasting in Fredericksburg, Texas.
Yeah.
Love it
I
up
just got
there.
back from Texas Heritage Vineyards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're getting better and better at making wine,
Okay.
and they're also getting smart. It's too hot in Central Texas to grow and rely on just those grapes. So they have orchards outside of Texas where they bring in, grapes and create the wines in Texas, but they keep getting better and better and better. So yes, Fredericksburg is a great place to go and experiment, and have wine tasting. Absolutely.
Well, I tell you, this music is infectious. It's powerful. It's rock. It's the guys having fun, like just pouring out their emotions on this record. And I can't even wait to this next project is, I'm sure, already in the works. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what's next. From Here to Home is the current record. 10 great songs on there. Many of we broke down, of course, on the other records out there, which are available for streaming purposes out there. The SouthAustinMoonlighters.com. For the tour dates, the merchandise out there. Lonnie, Chris, pleasure to have you guys on today to break down some tunes. Hope you had a great time.
Thank you. Of course.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And, I want to encourage, we often get people asking whether to stream or not to stream. And, honestly, stream away. It's become the industry standard of how you recognize how well a band is doing is by streams and numbers on social media and likes and clicks and follows and subscribe to all the things.
Likes and clicks and follows. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So, don't worry about whether or not we're getting paid properly. Let's just let's make art and get the art out there and have people listen to it. That's why it's there.
Because if people are listening to it, then there will be money made. They'll support us.
Yeah.
That's what I keep saying. Yep. Grow the audience.
I know, right?
Will take care of itself, no doubt. That's why we do what we do here, to give all the great artists to come on a platform to stand on. Next week, Josh Turner here on the program on the Backstage Pass. And of course, Lewis Bryce, the younger brother of Lee Bryce, here on the program here on the Backstage Pass, powered by the Sports Guys Podcast.com. High school football next week on Friday, Cajun Country Radio.com. We'll be busy with that out there too as well. So busy week for yours truly coming up here. And of course, the next 10 to 12 weeks of the football season, some college talk, NFL talk, and a whole lot more coming up here on the show. Check us out at hightidecountry.net. And our thanks to Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk, Texas. We'll see you guys Monday about 4 o'clock. Bronson Arroyo here on the show, former Cincinnati Reds big league pitcher.